Greetings all, it's DFuxa. Welcome to the month of June and to new recordings. So I haven't really done one of these videos for a while, basically where I sort of inform you about what's basically happened to my videos, when I'm recording, when I'm not recording, or what I was recording and I'm no longer going to be recording, stuff like that. But anyhow, for the most part, I sort of skipped last month because I didn't really have anything to sort of say. It's basically a lot of the same old, so to speak, for like the next month. But now in June, we're going to be getting a few new things and finishing up a few old things, so there's stuff to say. First and foremost, I'll note that for like the roguelike series I've basically been doing for like Dungeon Mans and Dungeon of the Endless, those series have basically been completed at this point. And for the most part, they're basically, you know, probably not a series I'll be returning to. Dungeon of the Endless is like a cool game, but I've basically shown off everything about what this game is all about. And then Dungeon Mans, that's basically like, you know, it's gotten to the point where I really don't want to go back to playing it. It's not really my style of like, you know, a roguelike that I want to play, and I'd rather like, you know, just leave it alone, shall we say. Those are basically done and out of the way. I'm not going to basically play them again. Now, I'll note at this point as well, I'm still doing some recordings for Wasteland 2. And I'll note that at this point, Wasteland 2, you should probably seen a good deal of it, but I'm actually getting to like the end of that like series. Basically, at this point, Wasteland 2, I'm in California, and I'll note there's a lot less videos in California than there is for, like, you know, Arizona. Basically, the reason that this is so is because Arizona has a lot more content to it, and with the California, I'm basically just trying to finish off the series, shall we say. So, it's basically going to get finished off real quick, you know, for the most part, and I'll be done with it. Now, after Wasteland 2 finishes, I'll be basically showing off a series called Endless Legends. That'll be a new series. So, Endless Legends is a 4X game made by the same developers who made Dungeons of the Endless, as well as Endless Space, which is another series they basically did some time ago. Endless Legends is really interesting, and in many ways, it's so interesting that I actually made two different series for it. And one moment, I'm just going to turn my friends list off, because, you know, I love to keep forgetting to do this. And yes, I know there's someone called DFuxa down there, just ignore that. But anyways, Endless Legends. I basically did two different series for it, and the reason for this is just for a simple reason that I basically started with like the vaulters here, and I just like sort of like a generalized overview of like the game. But I felt that when I was basically playing the game, I wasn't really like, you know, delving into like the sort of like hardcore battle aspects of the game. So I decided to basically start off in different series with like the Necrophage faction, another faction like the Endless Legends game, and basically with the Necrophage, you'll basically see more hardcore combat, shall we say, happening. Both of these were done in hard difficulty, by the way, and for the most part, I'm just basically trying to show off the aspects of Endless Legends with these two series. And I'll note that basically, look at these series here. Endless Legends, basically this will be a game that will replace like Wasteland 2 on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays in June. And then the Vaulters like series here, that'll basically take up until like the end of June before it basically completes. So it's gonna be a very quick series. I have Necrophage uploaded already, but I'm basically going to have that changed to a different day. And I think at this point it's going to be on Fridays and Saturdays, so basically see the Necrophage in July when that basically starts airing. So just to give you a heads up on when that's going to happen. Now, besides these two series, Endless Legends, you know, being like, you know, one of the new series, I also have another new series called Runestone Keeper. Runestone Keeper is a puzzle roguelike, and for those who don't know what a puzzle roguelike is essentially this sort of like, you know, roguelike that sort of combines puzzly aspects with like a roguelike aspects. And that might not really sound like a whole lot of difference, but basically, here's like the thing they're basically doing like puzzle roguelikes. Basically, they have like monsters, they'll basically show up, but they don't actually like pursue you or like combat you or anything really. They just sort of like sit there until like you decide what to do with them. And that's basically sort of like how Runestone Keeper basically works. Basically, you find a monster, and then depending on what you want to do, you may want to engage it or you may want to leave it alone. Some like enemies will basically have special opportunities against you. They basically want to, you know, take into account. But other than that, you know, it's just like a game that you can basically sort of like, you know, take your time and decide what is like the best way of solving this floor, and it's going on to the next one. And I basically do this one in 16 videos. It's gonna be a very quick series. It'll basically take all of June. I believe I'm going to be airing it every like Runestone Keeper video on Fridays. Here, I'll just do a quick check on when that's going to be. We're going to just go in here. And it's basically going to be June 3rd. So basically Friday you'll basically see these videos being aired for Runestone Keeper. I don't think I've got any like being aired on Saturday, but I think I might have a few being aired on Saturday too. And yeah, I know excellent ways to basically check out when my videos are going to be aired. I'll just go into them and like look at the info on them. Okay, so I am going to be apparently doing it on Saturday as well. So basically every Friday and Saturday I'll basically get a Runestone Keeper video. So that's basically what's going to be happening then. And just to sort of like give you an idea, basically if you look at this, you know, this like little scheduling thing here, Mondays and Tuesdays, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, you'll basically see the end of like Wasteland 2 and eventually transition over to Endless Legends. On Thursdays, you'll keep getting like, you know, the same old same with like, you know, Embers of Rage campaign from Tales of Magiel. Though I may throw in some other stuff depending on what's happening, if like there's something I want to showcase or not, and such as that. Fridays and Saturdays I'll be Runestone Keeper until like the end of the month, and then on Saturdays that's just going to be Consider Kings 2 finishing up. And then in July you'll basically see on Fridays and Saturdays the Endless Legends Necrophage series when that basically starts up. So that's basically all the plan, like, you know, sort of like, you know, series I basically have, you know, going on in like the future, you know, from here to now. Now, I'll note that in addition to like, you know, these series I'm basically doing, I have some plans on like other series I'm basically jumping into. Here's like basically some games I basically have like lined up, basically look into in the near future. Now, of these games, I'll note that Death Road to Canada and some other games as well that I won't mention just yet, but may become available. Basically, Death Road to Canada, for those who remember, that was basically a Kickstarter game that I basically backed, and it's going to be coming out soon. Now, it's basically the date that's like it's been portrayed as basically coming out will be like in July, so it's very possible that somewhere in August you might actually see me actually do a Let's Play for Death Road to Canada soon. In addition to that, there's going to be some other games possibly that I backed on Kickstarter I may be also doing. I'm not sure yet because their dates are a little bit less distinguished. Basically, with like Death Road to Canada, things like saying like July 18th they'll basically pop out, or July 22nd or stuff like that. It's basically going to come out. But the other games that have been like portrayed as coming out, I'm not sure if they're going to be coming out. Basically because of the fact that they're still sort of in development, and development could, you know, be pushed, you know, back a little bit more, and as a result, I have no idea when they'll be done. Now, before those like, you know, Kickstarter games come out that I backed, I also have a few other games to look into. Basically, if you look down like the D6 games here, I have something called Dungeon Up, Neo Scavenger, Barony, Ronin, Womb Room, and Dungeons of Dreadmore. With the exception of Womb Room, these are basically all games I bought, and for the most part, they're basically all like, I guess, roguelike-ish in nature, except for Ronin here, which is basically more turn-based than strategy-based. And you'll basically see what Ronin is when you jump into it. But basically, these games will be like sort of like the filler games I'll basically be doing until like the Kickstarter games come out, and we'll basically be having a lot of fun in the near future with them. So yeah, basically stuff is going to be happening in the near future, and there's not a whole lot more to say. I will say this though. I think at this point, I've more or less basically held off from doing recordings to like the point where I'm not like, you know, recording something like 6 or 7, like 5 or 6 months in advance. You'll probably be seeing a lot more fresher recordings in the future. Not maybe not like in July specifically, but in the future you will be seeing a lot more fresher recordings. Anyhow, I hope you've basically enjoyed at this point. Hope you like to keep watching. Take care.